Welcome everybody. Welcome to this webinar, Rethink Your Business, Introduction to the Business Model Canvas. I'm Rob Geddes. I'm a Product Development Specialist at AIC, which is part of the QMI Solutions Group. And a little bit of background first on the AIC. We're a not-for-profit organisation, and we help companies and organisations provide assistance with innovation, collaboration and commercialisation. And this webinar actually covers all three of those, so that should be good all in one go. We've been around for about 10 years helping Australian innovators achieve commercial success, and we've got quite a track record, and hopefully we've got a lot of work ahead of us and a lot of success ahead of us. This AIC webinar series is supported by Queensland Government, the Department of Science, Information Technology, Innovation and the Arts, and they have a number of webinars and workshops planned through the AIC, and this is the second in the series. One a little over a week ago was with Sean Smith on market research. So hopefully we'll tie all that in together, and we have a range of other seminars and webinars coming up in the future, which we'll tell you about as well. But we'll get into today. Before we begin on the business model canvas, which is the main thing for today, it's all about improving business and helping businesses plan better, to operate better, to be successful. And the Queensland Government has a lot of online material, which I'd like to make sure that you're aware of. And this Queensland Government Business and Industry Portal is a particularly good website. Most state governments and even the federal government have business portals which have a lot of good free material, and that is available online for people to access. There's a wealth of material here, and as you can see there, there's a lot of material on setting up a business, licensing, planning, meeting your legal obligations, all sorts of different things, and it's very, very useful material. But one of the things, even though it has a big section here on business planning, one of the things that to me it doesn't cover particularly well, and we need to work on that, is actually having a simple, useful tool to work out how to put your business together so that it actually is a profitable, sustainable business into the future, and it actually makes sense, and it actually is going to survive. And we believe this business model canvas is actually a very good tool to help people do that. Many of you, I'm sure, would actually have seen one of these, a business plan. You've probably got one. I hope if you're in business that you actually do have a business plan of some sort, and it covers a whole range of different materials, and it's quite a big, to me, unwieldy document. I think they're very important. Every business should have one, but it actually isn't a good document, a good tool to help people really understand and communicate what their business is doing and how they make money and where they're going and why they're doing it. It's very important to have all the detail and have that all worked out. Often banks require you to have one, etc. But what we need to have is a simpler tool to help businesses be more agile and understand how they're making money and how they should modify their operations into the future to stay viable and sustain. So with that in mind, I actually might ask, we've got the ability with on the panel on the side on the top right hand corner of your screen for people to put their hand up. I'm just wondering if we can try that, and if people who can put their hand up that have a business plan tucked away somewhere in the drawer, on a shelf somewhere, and so yeah, just if you could raise your hand. We've actually got some some notes here as well. Tierney is saying he's written multiple business plans for the business, but it's based on innovation, and it's hard to keep the business plan up to date. And that's exactly it. The business plans that are bound, thick documents like that are very difficult to put together in the first place, and they're unwieldy, not agile at all. And that's what this business model canvas is very good at doing. It's something that you can modify at the drop of a hat, try another thing, etc. So we'll get into that and get going. So we've got a few hands raised there. There's all sorts of different people that have got business plans, and but quite a few that actually don't. So very interesting indeed. And so this business model canvas is actually trying to address that. And a little while ago, and about 9 years ago, a fellow by the name of Alexander Osterwalder and a colleague, Yves Pigneur, put together this book called The Business Model Generation, based on Alexander's research that he did. Alexander is actually an industrial designer like myself, and looking at business from a design perspective, and looking at, rather than a complex wordy document, how can we actually create a model, create a visual impression, and a simple, elegant visual impression of a business, to be able to communicate that, to be able to understand it in a snapshot. And that's the main thing that he did. Now, business models weren't new at that stage. Business models as a concept had been around for a while, but this was thinking about putting it in some sort of a diagram. Now, that on screen is a photograph of the cover of the book, The Business Model Generation. I suggest you get that. You can actually get a large number of the pages on screen downloaded, and read quite a bit of it and try before you buy. But it's a very useful, very engaging, interesting book, and covers the topics that we'll cover today and much, much more as well. So I'll give you the address for that as we move along. But what is a business model? We've been talking about this phrase, and to me, it's just a simplified description of how a company does business and makes money. That's all it is. So it's just, in a snapshot, how does your business actually operate, and how does it make money? And if we can capture that in a simple way, then we can communicate that with everybody in the organisation and with everybody that we deal with as to who we are, how we operate, and how does that relate to me? So it's a very useful thing. Now, there's all sorts of different business models, and over the years, we've all become very familiar with a whole range of different business models. And over the years, they haven't changed all that much. Retail has been retail for decades, and it hasn't changed much. Wholesalers have been wholesalers for decades, importers, agencies, all sorts of things like that. But it's now a changing world. Retail in the last decade has gone through enormous changes. All sorts of different things, like importers and distributors, etc., are feeling the pinch of the online world. Online stores have cropped up that weren't around before. The whole world is changing, so different business models are coming out and competing against you. So how are you going to remain relevant in that world? And that's the whole idea of this business model canvas. And why change? I mean, I've mentioned some of the things, but the global financial crisis, rising globalization, the online revolution, changing demographics, the market's changing, commoditization of markets, where you could do things before at a reasonable price, but now it's actually been done cheaper and mass-produced, and it's hard to compete. There's no margin left, so we might have to change. Changing consumer expectations. The consumers have got far different expectations now of all of the things that we have to do in our business compared to 5 or 10 years ago. So is your business still operating the same way that it did 5 or 10 years ago? If it is, I suggest your competitors are going to be getting all over you. So whatever it is in your industry, there's some pressure to survive, and we see that on a day-to-day basis talking to companies. And so we mentioned this business plan before, and the business plans are very, very good. And for those, for those who have a business plan, we've actually already found out that they really haven't looked at it for too long. Does the team actually know what's in it? Is it easy to change and adapt? No, it's actually quite an unwieldy document, and it's actually something that people do once and stick away in a drawer and then get on with business as they've always done it. It doesn't necessarily change things. They don't use it as a day-to-day guiding light, and it really should be. There really should be a tool out there that does that, that sits on top of this. Now, one way of doing that is like the one-page business plan, and that one-page business plan is very, very good. It's a good summary. It's something simple to take to the bank, something simple to take to potential investors and partners and people you do business with. And I would suggest that the 5 panels on that one-page business plan should actually be the 5 tabs in your business plan. But the concept of having a one-page one-page thing which actually shows and demonstrates what your business is all about is a very powerful concept. And that's where this business model canvas actually came to me. It struck me straight away as soon as I saw it that it's basically like a sketch pad that designers have, where they do a quick concept of a new product or a new service, and can quickly, in a very quick sketch, see how the whole thing operates. And this is a visualization of the business model canvas. And there's actually 9 boxes in this canvas, and it describes the whole way that the business operates. So you don't have to be an artist to be able to engage with the business model canvas. This is just a way to visualize what the whole thing is all about. And there's of the 9 boxes, the first one that is crucial is actually the customer segment, and that's this box on the right-hand side. Here is our customer sitting here, and we might actually have a number of different customer segments that we deal with. We might deal with families, we might deal with professional people, we might deal with male and female, we might deal with the aged or the young. So there's all different ways of segmenting the market. And so you actually look at what are your market segments, and we'll go into that a little bit later on. Then you also have your value proposition. That's the gift here. What gift are you giving your client? Why are you in business? Why should they care? What is it that you offer that they would absolutely love? And that's your value proposition. What value do you offer to your target market? And your key partners over on the left here. In many, many businesses, you couldn't operate without your major suppliers, without your major channel partners, without your bank, without your people who provide you with a certain service or give you access to the market. So who are your key partners in this business without which your value proposition couldn't be delivered to your customer? And we're just not getting, here we are, customer relationships. We just weren't getting any action on the screen. We've actually also got customer relationships across here. One of the key things that keeps you in business is your relationship with your customer. Otherwise, it's just a transaction. It's just they might find you once, buy something off you, and away you go. If you have no relationship, then you're not going to realize the lifetime value of that customer and get them back again, and get them to tell their friends, and get them to help you expand your business. So what is your relationship with your customer? And that's a major part of it as well. Down here as well, the other relationship that you have with your customer is actually how you are seen by them through your website, and how you actually deliver your service to them through your channels to market. So every way that your customer can actually see you and engages with you, all of your touch points are your channels. So that's an important part of doing business as well. It's very important to visualize that. Key resources as well is a major is a major thing. Here we have all of the resources that you have as a business that that enables you, or that you need to have in order to produce your value proposition to be able to deliver to the market. So you need all those key resources. It might be your factory, it might be your farm, it might be the sewing shop out the back. They're the key resources that you have in your business to be able to deliver your value to your customer. As well as your key resources, we've also got key activities. What are the key things that we have to do in order to deliver on that promise? And down the bottom here, all of those things actually come at a cost. So what are the costs that it takes to have this business operating, to produce the goods, to deliver them to the customer, to get that relationship happening? So you need to work out what the costs are. And hopefully too, you've also got some revenue. This is the income side. So the customer pays some money to get the product which you deliver to them. And the difference between these two, the costs and the revenue, hopefully is a profit. So in one diagram, we actually have a picture that shows how your business works. It doesn't have to be, as I mentioned, doesn't have to be so artistic and three-dimensional as that. And here we have a business model canvas. And we can actually download that canvas. So here are the 9 boxes. They're just there, but it's just in a 2D form, and doesn't have to be so so artistic. We've got the little icons in the top right-hand corner of each box just to remind you of those particular things. But here we now have a simple diagram that you can actually map, you can pictorially show how your business works. This is available as a download as well from the web, and I'll actually put the link on the notes panel, and I'll send that to you there. So we have that link in the notes panel on the right-hand side. So I'll go through it again. So I just went through it with the pictorial view, but let's do it as a diagram. The most important thing to any business is your customer. The customer who pays to keep the doors open, who pays your wages, and you have to satisfy that customer for you to have a business. So what are your customer segments? And you can look at that in as many different ways as you would like to, and I encourage you to look at it in lots of different ways. Segment that customer base of yours as much as you possibly can, and look at this business model in as many ways as you possibly can for each of those customers. The next most important thing is, how do you satisfy the needs of those customers? That particular customer segment that you've identified has needs and wants. So what value do you offer them? Why should they pay you money? What is it? What hurt are you solving? What problem are you solving? And what need are you satisfying of each of your customer segments? And so you can even do it as a sheet of paper, left-hand side and right-hand side of the sheet of paper. Right-hand side, put down your customer segments. Left-hand side, jot down the value that you offer each of those customer segments. It's a very valuable exercise to go through. Another step then is to actually have a look at, how are we actually going to communicate with those customer segments? Do we have a website? Do we have advertising and marketing and all those sorts of things? That's channels to that market. How are we going to make ourselves known to that market? Are we doing it in person? Are we sending out sales reps? What have you? That's that one way. But the other channel to market is also how we're getting our product or service to the market. Are we actually using courier vans? Are we using trucks? Are we using our own people to hand deliver? Is it through retail stores? Is it through online and third-party delivery? What are the channels to market, and which ones really work best for that customer? We should really be customer focused. The next thing to look at really is the relationship. We've been trying to build up, through creating a great value proposition for our customer segments, build up a relationship, hopefully, and through our touch points, through the website, etc. But we need to identify those customer relationships separately. And you'll find later on that this is actually the key to the whole business model canvas. If you can have customer relationship management that you own, that is yours, that others cannot copy and duplicate, then you will be successful as long as you are delivering value to your customer segment. Out of all of that, hopefully the customer will pay you some money to keep the doors open and keep delivering all this wonderful value to them. And the revenue streams, how is it that you are getting revenue for the value that you're delivering to your customer? Are they simply buying it? Is it simply a sale? Is it rental? Is it a down payment and then payment over months? What are your revenue streams? Is it through third parties? Is it there's all different ways of revenue streams. So identify what those revenue streams are. In order to deliver that value proposition and get that revenue, we have key resources that we need. So what are those key resources? We also need to do things. We have key activities within the organisation. Do we need to actually maintain the online store? Do we need to actually order things from suppliers? Do we need to watch our financials? What are those key activities that we need to do on an ongoing basis to keep this business going and profitable? With it too, we'll probably have some key partners. So who are the people, the organisations, the partners that we need to have in order to create that value proposition and satisfy that customer segment? And that's crucial. More and more these days, companies are collaborating. Rather than doing everything themselves, using their own key resources and their own key activities, they're actually engaging with external third parties, key partners, and sharing some of that load, enabling them to do things that they couldn't possibly do themselves because they don't have the resources, in order to create a value proposition that is desirable for the segment. But this comes at a cost. So what are the costs of all of those sorts of things? Sometimes you might look at the costs and see whether or not the key resources are better in-house rather than having the key partners have them. And that's an exercise that you should do on an ongoing basis. So there is the business model canvas. There's 9 boxes. But in fact, the difference between the cost and the revenue down the bottom there is your profit, hopefully, if it's in a plus mode. Otherwise, you're not in business. You've got a hobby. So from the right-hand side there, for whom are we working? Who is it that we're trying to satisfy? What are we putting out there to satisfy them with? This is all about how we create that value to satisfy those customers, and this is for what return. It's really strikingly simple. It's quite amazing how simple it is. It's quite amazing how complex we have made our businesses, and when you start to do your own business model canvas, you'll find that you've actually got quite a complex structure. And the essence of being competitive into the future is actually simplifying and minimizing simplifying the business model so that you have a very understandable, communicable business model that you can communicate with everybody, all your staff, all your key partners, all your channel partners, etc. So as you can sort of see on the right-hand side there, we've got a customer, and the customer relationship and the channels, that's all about the customer. That's thinking at it from the customer point of view. That right-hand side is all about the customer. In the middle, that's what we offer. What is it that we're offering the customer? On the left-hand side is all this infrastructure that we need in order to be able to produce the offer for the customer, and down the bottom is our finance. So it's just 4 simple boxes, really, just broken up into a couple of other panels. It's a very simple concept. So you can actually communicate with everybody in the organisation as to how your business works. And that's one of the powers of this business model canvas. Okay, that's the theory. Let's get into having a look at some real business model canvases. We all understand retail. So let's have a look at a retail business model. This particular retail operation is targeting the mass market. They're not segmenting at all, it's just everybody. And they've got some sort of a unique product or service that they've got on their shelves, and they're just hoping that people will walk in the door and buy their product or service. And that's wonderful. We've got our nice little shop. We've got some prestige. We've got some convenience because it's there on the main street. And we've got the ability to feel and try out the goods because we're a real bricks and mortar shop, and we're proud of that. So that's our value proposition. That's what we're offering the market, the mass market. And open the doors, and they should all knock down the doors and pay for our service. We actually are proud of our pre and post sale service. So we'll help people try things on, we'll give them advice, all those sorts of things before the sale, and after the sale we'll actually make sure that things are fitted properly and that they can come back a couple of times free of charge. Just make sure that you know, their spectacles are fitted properly or they're adjusted and those sorts of things. And the other thing is that it's actually self-service, so the mass market can not be bothered by pesky sales assistants, but they're there if you want them. So you can go in, find the thing that you want on the shelf, but there is a shop assistant available if you want. So we think that's a pretty important thing. Mind you, every other business that offers the service that we offer has exactly those same things. Our channels to market, we communicate with our mass market through our website. We've put up our products on the website, and we've also got our bricks and mortar store. So our direct sales through our chain of stores. And out of all of that, we get some sales revenue. And that's wonderful. In order to do all of that, we've got key activities. We've got mass marketing and merchandising. We've got to look at the logistics. We have to look at our customer analytics to see what our customers are buying in order to work out what it is that we're buying in as our stock. We're proud of our brand recognition as well. That's a key asset that we have. We've got our supply chain, now people we've picked over many years to actually deliver the goods that we like to sell. And we've got our retail position. We're in a great spot on the corner of the main street of town. Our key partners, major brand and contract manufacturers. So these are the people that supply the goods that we put on the shelves that we sell to our customers. We've got a good relationship with those and we get good deals. And we've got regional and national agents and wholesalers. They're people that we've got a relationship with that supply us with the goods, that give us insights, that tell us what the market's doing, what next year's colours are and those sorts of things. And so we call them key partners. This comes at a cost. We've got fixed overheads with our shop staff and our business costs. We've got variable costs with our stock. We've got marketing and internet costs to be able to keep our website going. And we've got our occupancy costs, so our lease and our rates and our electricity. And the difference between those is our profit. So there's a simple retail business model. Recently, retail's gone online quite a bit. So how does an online business model operate? We've got our mass market. We offer cheap price. We offer convenience because you can do it in your slippers. We've got products of my choice that you can scoot around the web and find something that actually is exactly what I want. Our relationship, we've got a no questions asked return policy. And it's instant purchase anytime I want. So 24/7. Shopping. That suits me. That's our relationship. That's what we offer. Mind you, every other online shop that's got our product range offers the same things. We've got our e-commerce website. That's a major channel to the market. In fact, it's our only channel to the market in this particular case. And we have sales. In order to do all of this, we've got to look at our marketing mix, the things that we put up on our website as our stock. We've got to look at our customer analytics, etc., the same as the normal bricks and mortar shop. We've got brand recognition, we've got our supply chain, we've got our e-commerce website that we need to maintain. We've got our developer that we need to keep in tight with, otherwise if our shop goes down, our revenue is cut to billy-o and our reputation will die. We've got contract manufacturers that we need to deal with still. We've got international freight providers as well, because our contract manufacturers are largely offshore in this case. And we've also got our internet banking gateway. So all of those things are very important. They're key partnerships that we have, and that is all part of our brand recognition and our customer relationship. We need to maintain all of those. And again, we've got costs. We've got more delivery costs in this particular case for our online business model, but we don't have the bricks and mortar costs. And the difference between those is our profit. And so here we've got a 24/7 retail shop. So that's an online store. I'll just give you another example. We're all quite familiar with the Gillette razor blades. So in this case, they started out with a mass market. They had customers were adult males with their target market, and they offered reliable, cheap, close shave. And it was from a brand name that we're familiar with. It's a cheap brand name item. It's always sharp and it travels well. It packs away, don't need power and all those sorts of silly things. It's available through retail stores globally, through supermarkets, convenience stores, everywhere. So we've got a huge channel, network channel. We don't bother, initially when we launched it, we did television advertising and things, but we don't bother doing too much marketing now. It's on the shelf when people go to find it. We've got our initial sales of the handle and the blade kit. When people want a new razor, they can go in and buy the handle and blade from the shop and pay us for it. It's just a straight sale. We've got brand reputation in our Gillette brand name. We've got mass market logistics and supply. We have relationships with manufacturers and retailers, and we've got various costs that go into keeping that product on sale and being produced. But on top of that, we've also got ongoing frequent blade replacement purchases. So rather than just the single revenue stream of initial sales, we've actually got ongoing revenue as well with frequent blade replacements. With that, we actually need to have, to protect ourselves, we need to have patents on the blade connection, etc., so that somebody doesn't come along and produce a cheaper version of the replacement blades and take all of that planned revenue away from us. So we need to protect ourselves. So something that we own is our patent on our blade connection. Part of our value proposition now is also replacement blades, and it's available everywhere. Repeatable blade sales is part of the customer relationship, and in fact we've sort of got them locked in because only our blades connect to our handles. But then we've also decided that, hey, this product may actually have application to another market, so the adult female market. So we change the colours, we do a bit of product R&D, make it a bit more feminine in its shape, and repackage it and come up with another product range that's basically targeted at a whole new customer segment. We've got a very similar value proposition, but it's a new product line. So you can see there that we might actually have pretty much the same business approaching two different customer segments. And so you can see how we can actually have the business model canvas work for multiple market segments. Another type of business model that's been noticed that's actually a trend is actually free as a business model. Now, it's a bit of a misnomer. It's not always free. It might be a low-cost entry, but certainly a cheap entry point, and then later on you actually might make some money. So how might that work? In this case, we've actually got a free newspaper, and we've got two customer segments. We've got the commuters who actually pick up the newspaper and read the news, but we've also got advertisers who pay to put advertising in the newspaper. So here it's a multi-sided business model. So we've got two different, quite different customer segments that actually have different value propositions. So the commuters actually want their free citywide community newspaper available every day, and it's something to read and get the news and get some goss on the way home from work. But for the advertisers, they've got a high circulation place to put their advertisement. So there you are offering value for two different customer segments. Our channels to market are the public transport operators. Without being able to have our free newspaper available in the train stations, we wouldn't be able to offer anything to either of those people, but we also have an advertising sales force that goes out to the advertisers. Our relationship For the commuters, it's a good read, it's free. For the advertisers, it's a specific trusting readership. They pick this up every day, they trust what they read, and the advertisements then carry that weight as well. So it's a free newspaper. How do we make money out of a free newspaper? Well, we actually have advertising fees. So the one customer segment actually pays for the other. So we've got free, yes, but in fact, there's a back end of this which actually pays. And you'll see lots of different business models on the web that are actually free to start off with, but end up having advertising attached to it, etc., etc. So that's a business. They've got a brand, they've got distribution networks, they write the paper daily, all these sorts of things. They've got costs, they've got key partners, etc. But what I wanted to show you there was the multi-sided aspect of this particular business model. It's very powerful, interesting to look at for your own business. So another one that we're all quite familiar with is iTunes. iTunes actually changed, well, Apple through the introduction of iTunes changed the business model of music consumption right back when. And so what might their business model look like? And in fact, theirs is quite powerful in that it's relatively simple. Yes, they went for mass market customers. Everybody wanted to listen to music, but they identified quite powerfully here seamless music experience as what they offered. Not MP3 players, not cheap music, not access to podcasts or whatever it might be. They wanted this seamless music experience. They found that people were having all sorts of dramas, downloading music, converting it to different file formats, uploading it into portable devices. The portable devices weren't that easy to use, etc. So they found that customer pain, and they decided to solve it. And they decided to solve it in a very clever way. In order, their channels to that market were their retail stores selling their iPods, as well as the Apple stores selling iPods, the iTunes stores selling the music, and Apple.com as their website as well. That was the channels to market. They termed what was called a love mark. Everything that Apple does is all about trying to foster this love mark. People just love Apple or they hate them. And those that love them will actually pay lots of money and be lifelong customers of Apple. And that's what they're after. They're trying to foster that lifetime value of the customer and foster a bit of resilience as well, in that they can make some mistakes, but customers will still keep on coming back to them as well. But there's some switching costs as well. There's some pain associated with, once you've got your music in your iTunes and on your iPod, it's actually quite difficult to switch over to something else. So they've actually got you a little bit locked in, a little bit like Gillette, as we mentioned before. So their revenue comes from iPod sales, the key activities, the hardware design, the marketing. They've got key partners, they've got their key resources to do all of this, and there's costs associated with that. But as well as their iPod sales, they've also got these iTunes sales. So that's again multi-sided. So they've got their hardware, but they've also got their return on sales of music. But in order to do that, they've got the record companies which they have to on-pay their costs. But that's the same as having a manufacturer that you have to pay for dresses and shirts and things like that. It's just they're providers. So that's iTunes. Apple is not just iTunes. Apple is actually more than that. So looking at Apple, we've got a mass market, we've got sexy design, we've got performance that updates over time, we've got brand appeal and status and convenience and usability. They do all of this through retail stores, Apple stores, the iTunes, Apple.com. They've got their love mark, which is all important. They've got their Genius stores and Genius Bar, which is quite amazing. I'll come back to that as well. And you can actually try the Apple products in an Apple store, and you can feel the love in the Apple store with all those hundreds of people that are kicking around there, and they must know something that you don't. There's initial hardware sales for Apple laptops or desktops or iPods or iPhones or whatever it might be, and that's an important part of their revenue, but they've also got media sales on iTunes, and they've also got a percentage of app sale of their apps from the app providers. Manufacturing supply chain, they've got their experience design, so they design the whole Apple experience. Content management is a very important part of what they do. That's all part of their brand. And their retail experience management is a major part of their key activities. They've got their brand, their people, their designs, their content and agreements. And they have key partnerships with hardware manufacturers, their content publishers, the telcos, and the music and television and film providers as well. That are very key partnerships with Apple. There's costs associated with doing all of that. IP management being one of the important things because of their patents and those sorts of things to lock people out. And they do a lot of marketing in their retail. So Apple, in doing all of this across a whole range of different things, is keeping true to their promise, that love mark. They're delighting their customers. That's their core promise. And they're design-led. They're actually coming up with new things and updating that content and being constantly on the forefront. And that's part of their brand appeal to the target market. They've got a multi-sided revenue model, so coming from all different places, not only from their customers, but also well, from their customers in lots of different ways. And to do all of that, they actually harness a whole unpaid developer force. They've got so many developers doing things for them week in, week out, month in, month out, that they couldn't possibly afford in their own right. They're very cost-driven. They actually try to get the costs down because they've got economies of scale because they're in the mass market. And so they can drive down their costs over here and increase their revenues on this side to maximize their profits. All of the time, they're building in, they're building their promise with their customer. And a key feature of this new Apple is the direct customer feedback that they've got in lots of different ways through their Apple stores, etc. So they now know what their mass market customers are actually thinking and saying. They've got online information. They've got their Genius bars. They've got their feedback through all sorts of different avenues, feeding that back through to their design and development organization to develop new content and new designs to deliver a better value proposition for their customers on an ongoing basis. So that's quite amazing. I'm needing to zip through the material here. Here's a simple business model for Nescafe. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do is try very hard to get your business model to be as simple as possible. Initially, you'll probably have 100 different post-it notes on a canvas and putting lots and lots of different things down, and it's just getting too complicated and you can't see the wood for the trees. What you should do is try to refine, 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 and just put the essence of what makes you different. So this is just the simple mass market value proposition for instant coffee. And what's their customer relationship? Not a lot, really. I don't know, 43 beans in every cup or something. I'm not sure what it is, but that's they haven't got much customer relationship. Whereas their Nespresso business model, they've actually refined down to something quite graphic here, which a picture tells 1,000 stories, and I'd rather read just 9 pictures rather than 9,000 words to understand the business model of the organization. And if you can get it down to a few pictures, you can communicate it simply. Here with Nespresso, in the center, their value proposition to their 2 target markets, people at home and in the comfort of their home and people at the office, was to actually offer espresso quality, cafe quality coffee simply in your residence or place of work. Do it simply. And they do that through Nespresso.com. They do that through their customer relationship, their Nespresso Club. They've got retail stores, they've got online telephone sales and marketing, and they've got merchandising packs, etc. That's their channels to market. A clever thing that they've got is actually the Nespresso Club. You can buy the machines, the Nespresso machines at a department store, but you buy the coffee pods through the Nespresso Club. So they've got you locked in. They see what your purchase amounts are, and they can keep working with you and keep offering you things, etc. So they've got information and connection with that customer relationship that keeps them viable and enables them to leverage that. In order to produce all of that, their key activities are manufacturing, keeping their patents, and maintaining the customer relationship through their club. Their key resources are advertising, production, and dispatch. They've got key partners with the coffee machines. Nescafe don't make coffee machines; they make coffee, so they have key partnerships with coffee machines. Imagine if you were in the coffee business selling instant coffee prior to all of this, and Nescafe came along with the ability for effectively instant coffee that's like cafe quality at your home and office. And people will pay a lot of money for machines to have that experience. You've been just blown out of the way by somebody taking a fresh look at a business model and coming up with new ways of new revenue. Because down here in the revenue stream, yes, we've got revenue coming, a small bag of money there coming from the sale of the machines, but we've got a large amount of revenue in the ongoing sale of the pods, because our pods fit our machine, and that's where our patents lock that in. Or at least it did lock it in. It was first patented in 1976, and patents cover 20 years. So in about 1996, 97, it became open market, so other companies could enter into the marketplace. With this business model, between the year 2000 and 2008, Nescafe had a 35% annual growth in their business model. So imagine if somebody came into your business and blew away your operation because they came and did it differently. Some people do this as a matter of course, as the way that they just do business. So you need to be on your mettle. You need to be looking at perhaps even doing the business model canvas of your chief competitors and what they might do, and perhaps doing interesting new business models for your organization. In order to innovate with your business model, it's easy enough to put up on the business model canvas what you do now. Everybody does that, and it's a great exercise to get the whole team to do that, get it up on the wall and put up what you do now in your business, how you operate, how you make money now. But what you really need to be doing is looking at innovating your business. And the way that you innovate, and we'll put these slides up on the PowerPoint. So yes, and these slides will be available up on the web afterwards, and we'll send through the link to you. So you don't need to write all this down. But initially, you need to innovate to understand what your customers' unmet needs are and look at it and try to involve your team, suspend your current reality of what the current market does and try new approaches, and use it with this sketch pad of this business model canvas. And waste a few post-it notes. It's easy. You can pull them away, try it again. Make sure you take photographs of each one that you finish, so that you don't just move the post-it note and it's gone, because you might come back to that. It might be valid in a month's time, whereas it wasn't today. Or you might want to just change it and put together two ideas. What you need to do is build your unfair advantage. What you want to try to do is have some sort of an unfair advantage. And the main place that you do that is through that customer relationship, where you lock in your customer in that customer relationship field. What you can do once you've actually got a business model that you like is test the assumptions. So take that simple canvas out and try it with a few different people. Try it back of house with all your people that help you run the business, but also try it front of house with customers. Go and talk to them. Ask them what they think of this new idea and get feedback. You'll be amazed what ideas they come up with, and then implement it involving the whole wider team. It's important, however, to do dozens and dozens and dozens of these prototype businesses through your business model canvas, and then pick one that you want to validate and want to try. Where we've just skipped, and here we go here. Try it out, test it with your partners, your team, your advisors, and particularly your team. And just put it up on the wall in the office, in the lunchroom or something where people can see it on a regular basis. Have it changeable, have people engage in the conversation. That's part of the beauty of it all. So there are many tools and techniques on how to innovate, and I can run through those, and we've actually got a business model canvas workshop, one-day workshop coming up. But I would encourage you to change your business model. Look at rethinking your business model. Virgin have just come up with this new tagline in September. Don't just play the game, change it for good. They're all about changing the business model canvas, changing the way that business is done. Don't do it the same old way, because you'll be left behind. That's a very quick run through. We actually have on the top right hand side the ability for you to type in some questions. So if you have some questions, we've got a little bit of time left, not very much. I've gone on. I do get excited about these things, and we've got some questions coming in now. Oh, by the way, that link and for the business model canvas, where to download the canvas, is on the screen there now, and I've posted it to you. So some of the questions, certainly we can access the webinar later on. We've got people here talking about their business plan and how unwieldy it is. Yes, this is the antithesis almost of the business plan. It's so you can actually produce 20 A4 pages of this thing and try 20 different business plans over lunch. One of the key ways of changing your business plan is actually to look at the way that other organisations operate. In fact, more than 50% of business model innovation comes from observing models that other companies are using, perhaps not in your industry, but in other fields. Look at what another industry is doing and try to emulate that in your industry. Take something that's working in the airline industry and see whether or not it works for you in the taxi industry or whatever it might be. Try different models. So with most of those things, it's yeah, most people are actually asking, yes, we certainly can access the business model canvas. And I'll just find something else here as well, that there's actually some research that was conducted that shows that if you're innovating and trying to improve your business, most people do it through the middle here, through innovating products and systems and services. And that has some, certainly some value. But over here on the left-hand side, the results of modifying your business model can have enormous impact on your operation. So that's that's been quite amazing there. All right, so we're getting close to the end, and before we get there, I'd actually like to put in a plug for the future webinars and workshops. We've got the third in this series of webinars coming up next Tuesday at the same time, but it'll be Tuesday of next week, and it's intellectual property management for entrepreneurs. Intellectual property is key to innovating your business, and it might not necessarily be patents or design registrations. There's a whole range of different types of intellectual property, and you should have a look at that. Owning that is key to a sustainable competitive advantage. So you need to have some sort of an unfair advantage over your marketplace through your business model, through your intellectual property, and through your market intelligence as well. More work on the business model canvas. We've actually got a workshop coming up in Surfers Paradise on the 14th of November, next Thursday. So it's grow market share and revenue, innovate your business model, and we'll be doing a lot of work with business model canvas and some other tools that are very, very useful in this space as well. So that's where we are at the moment. If you, I'm still looking for some questions. Can we log on to the 14th of November workshop? No, the workshop is just in person. I don't believe we're filming the workshop. There will be, this workshop on the business model canvas will actually be held in other places across the state. So if you actually go onto on the screen there at the bottom, the aussiecom.com events website, then that is where you'll find it. So the dates are to be confirmed. We'll notify you through the normal place that where you get your notifications. I've just put the AussieCom events web address on the chat page for you to have a look at that, and certainly we'll be letting you know where this session is taped and or where the slides are, so you can get a copy of those slides. So that's getting close. It's really quite amazing. It's a very amazing tool. I find it to be very, very useful, and it's something that I use with clients on a regular basis. But one that I really, really do love, and I encourage you to try to emulate, is the Nespresso business model there, keeping it as simple as possible. A key way to innovate is actually looking at each of these panels and taking each of those panels separately and trying to drive innovation through, they call them epicenters. And so one is sort of looking at the resources, and so deciding if, for example, we decided to cut our resources, our cost of resources by half, how would that change the business model? So do a few what-if scenarios. If we decided to not have any of the key resources ourselves, but actually outsource everything. For example, an accommodation company decided not to have any beds, so they outsourced all of that and went with an online booking tool. And so then they, from then on, didn't have any beds. They had more beds than they could possibly sell to the market through their online booking tool by having partners and not having a single bed themselves, not having a single bed bug that was their responsibility. You can have it offer-driven as well, changing your offer, and how would that impact? Would that enable us to get more customer segments? Would we need more key partners in order to deliver a different value proposition? What if, just what if? Don't be restricted by what we had the ability to produce. What could we possibly think of that we could deliver to a market segment that we've identified, and go out and find the key partners that can actually help us deliver it? Being customer driven as well. Look at the customer and finding out what their hurts are. Maybe we can't currently provide for that particular hurt or need, but maybe we can actually buy a factory or get a key partner, or modify what we do and how we do it, and what our revenue stream is, in order to deliver to that customer segment that we know so well through our market research or what have you. So look at it, changing the business model through that means. And another way is actually looking at the cost structure and cutting your costs, or potentially even saying, well, what if we had $1 million? How would we change our business? If we were Richard Branson coming into this with new investment, how would we change the business? And then start to look at how we might do that. So a lot of what-if scenarios, and using these epicenters is a very good way to go. We've come up against time. We've got more webinars coming up and the workshop, so thank you all very much for being with us today. and I hope you've got something out of that. Certainly email me and let me know if AIC can be of any further assistance. I hope you've enjoyed today. Thank you very much.